and we're going to begin. We're going to start with roll call. Commissioner Gower.
Here.
Commissioner Rosales.
Here.
Judge Shaw's here. Commissioner Schindel.
Here.
Commissioner Dubnik.
Here.
Carol Sweezy with the County Clerk's Office. Here. Please stand and join us in opening prayer and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, please take care of our military wherever they may be. Please bring them home safely with their families. Please help us make the best decisions for the county. And please, most of all, watch over all the people of the world. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, the citizens to be heard.
Okay, the first one is Christy Duke.
Hi, my name is Christy Duke, and I'm a member of the Karnes County 4-H Adult Leaders. I'm also a previous employee of the county, as the public library director for approximately 8 years. My concern is the movement of the judge's office with the extension agency. County policy states that no additional expenditures are allowed to be added to the county budget unless it's an unforeseen emergency. The judge needs to be in a different building. I believe that's a convenience for her and her office. I don't believe that that's an unforeseen emergency. And as a taxpayer, I resent having to pay for the unnecessary moving not only of items, but telephone, computer costs, reprinting of letterheads, business cards, and other paper goods. I'm against moving the extension office for the convenience of the judge. I think it's very unprofessional of the judge to give 2 days notice for the extension office to move. And as a member of the Karnes County 4-H Adult Leader, this move has been handled very unprofessionally, and I haven't seen any effort to work with the extension agency on this move.
Thank you.
Courtney Hodges.
Hi, good morning. I wrote down a few things real quick. I wanted to address the issue of the judge's office being moved as well. What the court has approved has raised serious concerns with our 4-H parents and also on the adult leadership committee with the 4-H. I think it's raised concerns with the 4-H parents. I think it's raised concerns with voters, and that's on a county-wide level on people that I've spoken with. The court's agreed. I feel like the court has agreed to allow our children to be, or to come in unnecessary contact with juvenile offenders. I don't think that's necessarily a positive thing. These are the same juveniles that the court system, our school system, does not see fit to be with our children, and that's why they're over here. And I feel like this benefit really only, the move really only benefits the judge, not the children or the county. I think the question of funding still remains unanswered. The judge's office was moved once after she simply said that she didn't want her office to be over the annex. Now twice, or once it came moved again, she said she doesn't want that. Now she does want to be at the annex, and then whoever is in the judge's office when the courthouse is complete will then be moved for a third time. I don't think that this does benefit our county or our children. The juvenile probation office is not lit properly in the evening whenever our kids have events or activities with the agents in the evening. I think that's kind of a security issue. And as a parent, I think that then it allows our children to be in an environment which I don't see as positive or comfortable for our kids. And also, the concerns me, the court has agreed to move the extension office without really giving them the respective proper notice. It's just kind of like didn't know they were going to move and not have been told to move. So I think that some things need to be answered, and the voters wrote an explanation as to why it's happening, where the funding is coming from, what issues are going to be addressed over here. They're supposed to be sharing a bathroom with these kids. I don't think that that's really acceptable. for my daughter to be in the bathroom and to be sharing it with kids that are in here checking on the officers. So I really like all that to be taken into consideration and the expense before it's actually done.
Thank you.
Maria Moore. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Maria Moore, and I'm here as a representative of the 4-H Adult Leaders Association, a parent, and a Karnes County taxpayer. We recognize Extension is more than 4-H, but we also recognize that the 4-Hers are in and out of the Extension office all of the time. At our 4-H leader meeting this past Monday night, we discussed the upcoming move of the Extension office to the Juvenile Probation Office. There was a lot of opposition to that move based on concerns of safety, privacy, and expense. According to the Commissioner Court videos and newspaper reporting, such statements made by you, our elected commissioners, were, "We are here to serve the people." Well, Judge Shaw and commissioners, we don't feel served. We feel like we are being taken advantage of by a good old boy administration. I scratch your back, we scratch mine. Exactly how many of you were at the Karnes County Youth Show discussing with the people you represent what everyone thought of this upcoming move? We have not found anyone in favor of it because of concerns by the parents. How many of you have children that this will affect? I don't believe any of you do. And if I'm wrong, I stand corrected. If you did speak to anyone, it definitely must not have been about this subject. We understand that you have already voted on this, but we are also interested in why this is such a fast move, and ultimately having some safety precautions put in place for the children before the move. This is Karnes County, and like all small towns, news spreads fast. It was a topic of discussion Monday night, and then yesterday we learned that the move was going to start taking place at the end of the week. So, Judge, you have Commissioner Yauer and Dubnik helping you move according to previous videos and newspaper. Who is packing the Extension office and moving it? Do you have those same people you serve doing it? As a leaders group, we were hoping that safety precautions would be implemented before a move would ever happen. Parents do not feel like it is safe for their 4-Hers to enter through the same door. Restroom safety, the street is dark and isolated at night. There are meetings that happen after dark. Your comment to Ms. Casper was if she wanted to discuss the quote, commingling children with juvenile offenders, that she should have talked during the citizens to be heard. We are here and we want to be heard, and we want it to be known that we do not like or support your ideas. There would be more here, but you see again, those parents that are at work today during this time, they are the parents of the 4-Hers who you represent, and we are not in favor of your actions at all. I drove by here at 3:45 yesterday afternoon and saw a bus unloading or loading, and there was definitely multiple opportunities for commingling of the students who were in and out of this office and the 4-Hers. There's supposedly no move. Letterhead, business cards, time spent packing, unpacking, is this really for the people, or so that the government runs smoother, as it was stated, or is this another case of what Judge Shaw gets, Judge Shaw wants? When the courthouse is completed, there will be cost expenses again. By the way, your move out of the courthouse was because of odors that you only smelled, no one else, and because of bat droppings making your staff ill so that a physician note was needed. I'm just wondering now how it's okay for you and your staff to move over to the annex building, knowing that bats have already begun to invade that building as well. Are you no longer concerned about your staff's health? I cannot help but think if all of the parents and leaders of the 4-Hers contacted Mr. Montemeyer with their concerns, that he would be so eager to support you. But no one was given that opportunity before you took it upon yourselves to do what was in the best interest of the citizens that you serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Marie Charter.
Good morning. We wish to address items 18 and 19 of the Karnes County Commissioners Court agenda of February 12, 2013. Items 18 and 19 were approved by a vote of 4-0. Commissioner Rosales was absent. These items were approved as amendments to the budget for 2013. and are not included in that budget, making it an emergency amendment. The approval of these funds, $5,271 for a copier and $1,500 for a computer, do not meet the criteria of Section 111.041 of the Local Government Code under emergency expenditures. I quote, "Commissioners Court may authorize an emergency expenditure as amendment to the original budget only in the case of a grave public necessity to meet an unforeseen condition that could not have been included in the original budget due to the use of reasonably diligent thought and attention." Because the Commissioners Court and the actions of the presiding officer intentionally and wrongfully stripping the budget of the county attorney, and because the Commissioners Court and presiding officer did not include an appropriate amount for a copier, does not make this an emergency amendment as defined by Section 111.041 of Texas Government Code. That is to say, the county attorney's office now has 2 computers, and should the county judge move its office to the annex, there are currently at least 3 copiers to satisfy any requirement of the county attorney's office and the county judge's office. In addition, because this does not meet the strict requirements of an emergency amendment as defined by Section 111.041, the expended funds would be improper. It would be, in fact, a misdemeanor offense as defined by Section 111.012 of the Local Government Code. Certainly, we do have money in our treasury to purchase the items that are requested, but those funds are not there to be used as a slush fund because the Commissioners Court and the presiding officer were negligent during the budget process. Each of you are responsible to the citizens and residents of this county to be legally and fiscally responsible in the protection of public funds. Money in our treasury is not your personal money or funds, as stated by the presiding officer. It is not her money, and it is not your money. It's public money. Each of you commissioners were elected by the citizens of your precincts, and you are each responsible to them for your actions, good or bad. The county judge was elected by the voters and citizens of the county to be a responsible elected official. The county judge was not elected to be a county dictator. One last thought. Everyone has a useful purpose in life. Even if it serves as a bad example, and that is a choice that each of you make. In my opinion, 4 of the 5 commissioners of this court certainly meet that bad example.
Thank you, sir.
Betty Yarder?
Okay.
That's all. That's it. Did your students ever show up?
I don't think they're here yet.
Okay, then we're gonna skip number 6 and 7.
I can do number 6.
You can do number 6?
Sure.
Okay. Number 6 is discussion and possible action on the adoption of updated tax abatement guidelines and criteria for Karnes County.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Good to be back in Karnes County. When I was here in late November of last year, you heard a presentation about suggested updates to your tax abatement guidelines and criteria, which had expired the previous February, I believe. And those were mostly, the suggestions were mostly designed to address sort of the issues that you're dealing with regard to energy companies that are operating in Karnes County. And I left that meeting with direction to incorporate those suggestions into your tax abatement guidelines and criteria. So what you have in front of you, I guess, let me start off by saying what I didn't mess with. And most of these guidelines that you've had in place, that were in place for a few years, that were renewed, and then they expired, basically mimic what the other cities and the cities in Karnes County have. I think they've been developed by the Economic Development Corporation and the different cities that have adopted them. Basically, everybody adopted the same thing. I made some revisions to this to make it clear that these are county guidelines and took out some of the extraneous language that applies to cities or school districts. And then what I left alone were the different types of industries or businesses that would qualify for tax abatement. You have all kinds of stuff in there besides the energy stuff. You have some retail, you have healthcare facilities, you have manufacturing facilities, research facilities, distribution facilities. I didn't mess with any of that. That's all policy decisions for you to make of what kind of industries you want to incentivize or what kind you want to make eligible for a tax abatement agreement if you want to do that. The other thing that I didn't mess with was the minimum investment that's required for each of those kinds, how many jobs and how much money has to be invested. For the ones that you're dealing with, the energy companies that you're seeing so much of are going to far exceed those minimum requirements anyway. If you wanted to adopt different standards for how many jobs needs to be created or how much money needs to be invested, that's certainly now would be the time to discuss that and to do that if you wanted to, but I didn't do that because those are policy decisions. So what I did do was incorporate I made some kind of procedural changes. I clarified who the application needs to be filed with, and it's filed with the county. And one thing that was missing was the statute allows you to require a $1,000 filing fee when someone applies for a tax abatement. And so I put that in there so that if anybody applied, didn't have to pay that, but it's filed with the county judge. And then I put in there the things that the law students recommended late last year with regard to, we redefined petrochemical facility and call it oil and gas processing facility. And then with regard to those, put in some criteria that the Commissioners Court would want to consider when reviewing one of those applications, such as a requirement for semi-annual development plans, so you know what the applicant has, what their plans are for the facility and expanding the facility in the future, what they expect their lifespan to be of the facility, a traffic impact analysis, which would require them to show you what impact their development is going to have on your county roads, a local business support plan where you could give them more favorable treatment if they showed that they had contracts with local businesses and wanted to use local businesses as subcontractors and contractors when building their facility or operating their facility. And then finally, if you wanted to require housing plans so that they can show you how they plan on housing their temporary workers or long-term employees, you could consider all those things as additional criteria when deciding whether or not to grant a tax agreement. So you have revised, red line, you have a memo from me to Judge Shaw, and then proposed revisions that are limited to those things. And then I sent a copy, not of the memo, but of the proposed revisions to the Economic Development Corporation earlier this week, just so they would be aware of what we're proposing. Certainly, they're expired right now. If you wanted to adopt new ones, you could do that. You're not under any obligation to. But if you had someone other than an energy company, you could have a skilled nursing facility or a nursing home or something that wants to come in and qualify for and ask for a tax abatement, you wouldn't have anything, you wouldn't have the authority to grant them that or consider that application right now. So I'm happy to answer any questions and appreciate the opportunity.
Who follows up on, or whose responsibility to follow up on if the person requesting a abatement somehow falls short of meeting their obligations?
Any tax payment agreement that you do will have a couple of things and is required to have a couple of things. One is it'll make the business prove to you annually that they are meeting the criteria, that they're making the investment, that they're creating the jobs, and they'll have to prove that to you annually. Also, the statute says that the county any agreement would have to give the county access to the property upon reasonable notice so that the county can go in there and inspect and make sure that the facilities, what they promised to do is actually being done. And so they have an obligation to work with the appraisal district and to prove to you yearly that they're meeting their obligations to you. And the statute says that you get to go onto their property and make sure that they're doing that as well.
So
and then you have to have a recapture provision so that in the event that they're not doing it, there's a means for getting that abated money back. And that's always one of the things that's subject to negotiation is if they fall short, do they pay you back for everything? Do they pay you back for just that year? And that's not lined out in here because that's usually negotiated in an agreement if you get to that stage.
Okay, so it's the appraisal district responsibility to enforce it, or the county has to follow up on it?
The county has to follow up on it, but it will use, the appraisal district will go in there and assign a value to the improvements that are made, and that will be the basis of calculating how much they've invested. But the appraisal district doesn't enforce it.
I guess what I'm getting at, they say they're gonna have 85 jobs, and they end up having 60 jobs.
Right.
So it's a county responsibility to go in and verify.
And they'll have to prove to you they'll have to prove to the county that they've created those jobs by giving you adequate documentation that they've created those jobs and how much they're paying each of those jobs. And if they don't do that, then typically what the agreements do is you tell them, hey, we think you're 15 jobs short, and they either have to show you, fix it, remedy it, or give you some of that money back.
Shelby, are you trying to ask whose responsibility is it to go check on these people?
Yeah.
That's what basically what you're trying to ask, right? I think it's Commissioner's Court to appoint someone to go check on them.
Before,
Even my voice is kind of scratching, kind of sick.
before that, has the court ever done that?
You know what we have, Shelby? Every year they'll send us like a letter saying that they've met that, and they'll send a copy to us, and they'll send a copy to Kathy Barnhill. But the letter that we got this year was really strange, and it's sitting out there on Sylvia's desk. It's like 2 lines. It says, and I think it's a company that has quite a few abatements. Maybe it looks like they just changed. Do you know what I'm saying? The
For
name.
different
Yeah,
counties.
and it's just like a form letter, and it just says we've met abatement criteria, and I need to call. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
What I mean is, what I'm asking is that because you can, you can put anything on paper.
I know exactly what
You
you mean.
actually go in and audit them, to find out if they are in compliance. Otherwise, they're out of compliance.
That's right.
And that's my concern.
And remember, they pay their taxes and then it gets abated back to them. So you would not want to abate those taxes back until you're satisfied that they're complying with all the terms of the agreements.
That's my concern.
And whoever we appoint, we cannot appoint someone from Commissioner's Court, right? It has to be someone outside of Commissioner's Court, or it can be someone within the Commissioner's
I
Court.
think it can be anybody that you decide to go tasked with ensuring that they're complying with any agreements. Yeah, I don't think they're limited in who that can be.
Well, should that monitoring system be specified in each abatement?
It would be helpful, certainly. Yeah, if each contract said, this is gonna be the point of, this is gonna be the person, this is gonna be the procedure for ensuring compliance.
If you're specific, it would be enforceable. If you were specifically, it would be enforceable.
Well, I think that it's gonna be enforceable
It's
anyway.
enforceable
It's
either
just-
way.
Right, it's just a matter of building a good procedure for doing what you're suggesting, which is not, don't just sign these and then for 10 years not follow up. And then follow up every year.
Because I've been with the Economic Development Director yesterday, and I was asking about this, you know, how this was going to, anything new would impact him. He said, no, actually, he thought it was pretty fair. But I asked him then, I said, well, do you monitor who does what? And he said, no, he doesn't. He said, that's what he said, it's kind of like the county's responsibility to follow. And I just want to make sure we didn't have anybody, if we do, who is it, and are they doing it?
Yes, sir. I understand what you were trying to ask.
The only 2 that I've ever dealt with are Select and Alliance. I don't know if there's any other 2, any more out there than that, but there's 6 that I'm aware of.
6.
The only ones I get letters from, I don't.
Yeah, but certainly, I mean,
I don't know.
As far as the abatements and/or possible abatements, I will say we have not received full reimbursement from the abatement that was denied in December. For our legal fees, that was,
have you sent them an invoice?
I've sent them several, yes,
Okay. I'll see if I can help expedite that.
which is, the outstanding balance is $7,806.24.
Talk about that at different.
Yes. So, but anyway, that's something we could specify, Ross, we could work on again.
Sure. I don't know that you need to have it in the guidelines or criteria, but you certainly want any agreement that you entered into, who is gonna be responsible and wire in a predictable way for ensuring compliance.
So, was there gonna be any action on this today, Ross? Were we gonna?
That's completely up to y'all. I mean, if you've had time to review them and you're comfortable with them, you can act on it.
No.
If you want.
This is over 20 pages, and we can't make a decision in a few minutes.
No, and I think that if you're gonna, bring it back and look at it, look at what I did by all means, but the other thing to consider are, the list of businesses that qualify, are you comfortable with that? Do you want to limit it? Do you want to expand it to include different businesses that you want to see come in, incentivized to come into Karnes County? And then the other thing I'd look at is, look at those minimum criteria, the number of jobs that are required to qualify for a tax abatement, and decide if they're too low, or the minimum money that's required to be invested, and those are kind of policy decisions that are completely yours to make, and when you reach a comfort level with that, we'll put them in here and, bring them back for your approval. I'm not here suggesting y'all do this today. I understand there's policy decisions to be made.
Students still.
I'll go find them. All right. we can skip
That's
the
okay,
next one.
we'll just come back.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, no, wait, can we
Thanks,
stay
Ross.
for the next one? The next one, let's do number 8 real quick. And that's discussion and possible action authorizing the county judge to open sealed bids on behalf of the county and to present bids to commissioners for consideration pursuant to chapter 262 of the local government code. That's the bids from the oil field companies that we're getting,
Well,
some 18.7.
I think the way that it came up, I'm sure you'll correct me if I misstate anything. The way that it came up was the going out for requests for proposals on the mineral lease, having it, I think we wrote them in a way that would require, you don't want to open it and try to award it the same morning. I don't
Right.
think typically. You want time to review it and review your low bidder and make sure that they're legitimate before you go enter into that sort of agreement. And so that was drafted in a way that would have had it open before it was awarded. And so the judge was talking about, well, does we went to the special meeting to open those? And I think that the local government code gives you authority to delegate the opening to either the county judge or if you have a purchasing agent, the purchasing agent. And so that would just save you from having to call a special meeting for the sole purpose of opening a bunch of envelopes. If you delegated that to the county judge, she could open them publicly when she has to open them in accordance with the public notice that's published. And then she would have to bring those to Commissioner's Court for formal approval. Obviously, you're not authorizing her to award the bids, just to open them and read them. And what the statute requires is that you open them and read them, and then anybody can be there to listen to that. And then they would have to come back that would give time for whatever department it is to look at the bids, evaluate them, and then to come back to Commissioner's Court with a recommendation.
Understand, rather than opening them here and then we have to post it for another commissioner's court,
Right.
right?
Right.
Understand.
But this is just for the all bids?
Mineral lease.
This would be, the way that it's drafted is that you could have her open you could designate that delegate an authority to opening any bids. to her.
That- yeah, here it says
It's not
sealed bids.
tailored for just the minerals.
So this is giving her authority to open all bids at any time?
No. The day it said the paper.
Well, no, of course,
Because we can give them
right.
up to 10 a.m. on the 4th.
Of course, the day that it says on the paper, but,
But James is talking about anything else that we would go
right,
out for.
this isn't just restricted to the mineral
I would think we
bids or
should
anything.
restrict it.
This is on any bids from here on.
The way it's drafted is broadly, right? And you could come
Right.
back and tailor that more narrowly if that's what you want to do. And limit it to the mineral bid that's up in March or other mineral bids or however you want to do it.
I mean, we always have to put on the agenda to accept bids anyway.
And then, yeah.
Yes, so
understand.
it'll always be on there, you'll always know. But this one, on March 4th, we're gonna open bids. If y'all wanna call a special meeting to open bids, we can. And if not, we can, March 4th is Monday. And then we can award them at the next Commissioner's Court meeting, or you can just open them. It doesn't.
I thought
didn't have to give y'all copies of
it
it
was
over.
specified that we were awarding on the 5th. I thought you opened on the 4th. I thought that's
Right,
how
but you
it
wouldn't have to have a special meeting on the 4th.
to open, but you do to
Right.
award.
Yes,
Yes.
if you
on
just
the
wanted
5th.
to
We
do
could
that
award on the
today,
12th.
you could just
No,
vote
it's for the
to.
5th.
It's
is
not
how
on
it was.
paper, that's not what was published.
But I think that's how it
No,
was
you
in the
know what I want?
guidelines he presented.
Well, it was in my timetable, but it wasn't in anything published. It wasn't in the RFP and it wasn't in the notice in the newspaper, so I think you could do it on 12th. It was only in that timeline because I thought y'all were meeting on the first Tuesday. So it wasn't included in the public notice or in the RFP, so there's nothing that would obligate you.
So
to meet
nothing
the
that they
5th.
received
Right.
indicated that.
Nothing that they received indicated the 5th. That only, I went back and looked at everything. Anything that would have been run in the newspaper or that a bidder received only talked about opening on the 4th.
Well, my opinion as judge, commissioners, on this one here is, I don't have a problem with the judge opening any bids, and she's our county judge on it. But I just feel more comfortable if it would all be done in commissioner's court when the bids come in, and even if we have to have another commissioner's court meeting, this is what we've done for the last 13 years I've been here, and I just feel more comfortable. But it's up to you, I mean, it's the decision of the court. I just would rather it be open like we've always done it in court, and then nobody has to say, because it always happens. You open up sealed bids in your office and everything, it's gonna be like, well, you know, you had your favorites and everything. We open them up here, even if we have to have another commissioner's court, we have another, and we've been doing it the last 13 years I've been here. And I know it makes it so much quicker, the judge could open it, but I don't want to put the judge in a predicament to where any company comes back and tells her, well, you have time to review it, y'all. You know, I feel more comfortable it being open within us, all 5 of us make the decision, it's tax dollars. I mean, that's my opinion. That's up to 5 of us.
Well, I looked up the code yesterday, And 262-4026 says the county official who makes purchases for the county shall open the bids on the date specified in the notice. The date specified in the notice may be extended if the Commissioner Court determines the extension is best in the interest of the county. All bids, including those received before the an extension is made, must be opened at the same time. Commissioners Court may adopt order that delegates the authority to make extensions into this subsection to the county official who makes the purchases for the county.
There's another provision in there that talks about the Commissioners Court shall adopt rules administering the competitive bid process. So I think with those two things, that would give you the authority to delegate.
So I think the one is the one actually, that's what my concern is that you're the one who does that for the county, correct?
The purchasing
And
is
you stamp the time and everything.
correct.
It doesn't matter to me, I'm here.
Yeah,
anyway.
I know, Judge, I know.
I'm here.
I'm just
Right,
saying,
right.
that's the way I read it, so.
It simplifies things like this very much, but I don't want to.
Do y'all wanna, so y'all wanna go ahead, we can get bids up till 10 a.m. March 4th. That's Monday. And then we can open them, we can award it on the 12th. You can look at it on the 4th, and then we can award on the 12th.
You have a special meeting.
We'll have a meeting on the 4th to open the bids. I think so far we've only got one. That's so far, but usually the last day or two is when they start coming in, if they're gonna come in. So we can open them on March 4th at 10.
You're not the county purchasing agent, or the county purchasing authority under 262.
Well, it's assumed when you don't have a specified agent that the auditor does the purchasing.
On the 12th.
On the 4th at 10 a.m. Yes.
I'm not sure exactly how it's worded, but
Yeah.
That's fine. 8 days. I don't know.
And then we can award them on the 12th, right, Ross? Open them on the 4th and award. All right, what is the next item on the agenda?
9.
Number 9 is discuss approve, disapprove County Road 329 access improvement agreement between Karnes County and Tallahassee. On that one, I think we had talked about this the last Commissioners Court meeting, where Tallahassee had this contract, and Jeff had brought it to us. But we needed to have, I guess, Herb look at it. Herb looked at it, and he kind of made some changes, and I scanned it, scanned Herb's changes, and I emailed it to all these people. And some guy by the name, I think Pine or something, emailed me back and said that they were gonna work on this and get it done. He hasn't sent me anything yet. But Tracy has a concern that, go ahead, Tracy.
What we need to do is, I don't know how you do it, but they're ready to do work, and they're gonna end up, it's gonna cost us about $23,000 to prepare, but they're gonna do about $250,000 worth of paving once they get done with their drilling of the wall well. And so, this contract here would have to do with it afterwards, after they've completed what they're gonna do right now, and they're wanting to get started so they could go in and put their pad and all this. And I was just wondering what we could do to get them going. Maybe Mr. Hancock come up with something right away.
In other words, you want to set up the agreements that whenever they're afterwards, they're going to put in the $250,000, but you don't want to get started right now doing it.
Right. Yeah, they want to get in there and drill that well.
Wasn't this what Herb did?
That's Herb's writing.
Right.
I hate to make them mad and we miss out on that money, They're gonna fix that road going down to that Sacred Heart Cemetery,
That's good.
right out of Kennedy there on the left, on 72 there. They're gonna put that hot mix on there, and it's gonna be nice. They're gonna widen the road from, I think, up to 24-foot wide.
That's good.
It's gonna be a wide road.
But they want to get in there when, now?
Now, they're ready to start now.
They've already started.
We're gonna have to widen, prepare the base.
Yeah, that's all we have to do is just widen it up. They've already cleared all the brush in the fence and knocked all that down. All we gotta do is just build it back up and they'll come in and put the mix on.
Who puts in the road base?
We're gonna put in the.
We put in the road base?
That's what Rick came up with. It's gonna cost us about $23,000 to get $250,000 back. So,
Pay.
pretty good swap.
Doesn't we just do it, because this only gonna pave up to the,
Up to the
up
cemetery.
to the, no, just up to the Calabar.
Okay, then we can get some reclaim. All we have to do is re-top the little piece of the cemetery. It's not much.
Up to the category, at the cemetery.
No, no.
The one up here at the hill where that pumps up.
Before that, right,
Right.
they're just gonna do that, what they damaged.
And then they'll go into their well site. And then we'll take care of the rest after that. It's not much.
How far is that? What linear footage does that have?
What is it?
Like the two-tenths of a mile?
Yeah. 2/10.
Roughly. give or
Roughly.
take.
All right, since I received the signed copy, this is not legal until the court approves it, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, and so we're asking that they approve these handwritten items in here.
Yeah, we need to, get one revised and sent to them.
I sent them this part, Herb's changes, I just haven't heard back from them yet.
Maybe we won't hear from them between Monday.
What do you want to do? Do you just wait and then they do put a special meeting to
You know what,
separate?
if we're having that meeting March 4th and I'm already doing that, let me see if I can get a hold of them. Again, I'll see.
We'll get it on there.
I mean, but we went back and forth quite a bit the day that I sent it to them, and they were like, well, they were gonna do it quickly, and I didn't hear from them, but I know that this is important to Tracy and Jeff, so I don't wanna mess it up either, you know what I'm saying? I mean, there was like small things in here, like one of them said they request access from Highway 72, and they're requesting it from us, but that's a state highway, we don't have any authority to
Right.
give them that access.
Well, they're coming off there,
Right.
onto County Road 329.
And I think what the deal is one of the things that Herbert told me, he says, I don't want to grant them access to something we don't have authority to grant them access to, because it looks like we're representing the state versus representing the county.
Right.
One of his concerns.
What do you say about the cattle guard, man? Is that in here or is that some addition you want to put in there?
On the front page, it says that we will
On 5?
install a new cattle guard. On the back page says they will provide it. And I just want to make sure that on the front page where it says number 5, they're installing a new cattle guard being provided by Talisman. Back page says they will provide it. The second page says they will provide it.
That's the deal, that they're going to provide it and we're going to install it.
What does it say on the second
We've
page?
been trying to get files that had to put them in. In other words,
Provided
yeah.
24-inch cattle guard receiver.
because they knocked out the fence.
Number 3 says they're providing.
Okay.
Okay. So
We'll
we'll
just wait till
okay.
Monday and see what happens.
Okay, we're good. So we'll just not take any action to it right now. Number 10 is discuss, Jeff, have you talked to those people from Talisman? I know they had a meeting Tuesday night. Did you go?
Yes, and we're also talking with the landowner on that property there, the fence lines and stuff. The landowner wants to clear the fence lines out. And like I mentioned to Mr. Pete, we're even talking to the landowner to see if we can take those cattle guards and actually have them moved away. The leaser on the property says that he may not, if we can talk to landowners and not even putting them in would be a better deal. Because he said if they put new fences up and stuff, they won't need the cattle guards, but he'll still need access to one side of the road to the other there. So we're talking about putting those cattle guards maybe in between an area where they don't have, we want at the cemetery, then one at the turn, they'll be close together, where when the funeral processions and everything come in, they won't have to deal with cattle up and down the county road.
Okay,
So we're dealing with all that right now and trying to get all that taken care of.
okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Number 10 is to discuss, approve, disapprove a request for Crime Stoppers Fund, and that's Lisa.
I want to thank you, Judge Shaw and Commissioners, for allowing us as the Karnes County Crime Stoppers to come in and be before you today. I just want to give you a short timeline on what we have been doing. In August 2011, I was in a meeting and heard then Sheriff David Jalewka mention about Crime Stoppers. And I was in another meeting and heard him mention this and said he was having a hard time. So I asked him what was the holdup, what was the deal. And because this is a citizens organization, he said he as law enforcement could not do this. And he also needed help in getting a 501c3, which is a tax exempt organization. Once again, my name is Trey Hill. I'm the pastor of the Word Fellowship in Kennedy. Having to deal with churches and having to deal with pastors, we have a church attorney that deals with 501c3s. So I said to David that I would take care of getting the 501c3. Little did we know all that was going to be involved in this. This was a 18-month process, and so we stand here before you today. And let me just give you once again just a brief thing that we've done. We had to get a board together, and we also had to get local law enforcement departments on our side as far as support. Our board consists of myself, Trey Hill as president, Patty Bishop from Runge as the vice president, Sandra Schultz of Kennedy as secretary, Debbie Whitty of Karnes City as the treasurer. We also have the support of our Karnes County Sheriff, Dwayne Villanueva, the support of Eddie Salas, the Chief of Police of Karnes City, the support of Dwayne DeBose, also the Chief of Police of Kennedy, also Anita Schmidt, Karnes County Probation Department. Second thing that we had to do was find a TIPS coordinator. Once a tip is reported to the tip line, the report comes back to a TIPS coordinator. The TIPS coordinator then divides out the information to whichever law enforcement agency it needs to go to, whether it's the county, whether it's the city, or whether it's all three of them. And we have chosen Cheryl Brown. Cheryl Brown is also the coordinator for Wilson County. She's very knowledgeable in this process. She apologizes for not being able to be here today, but she had a previous commitment. The third thing we had to do was establish a nonprofit corporation, which we have done so. The name is Karnes County Crime Stoppers. The fourth thing was to file for and receive our 501c3 IRS tax exemption. We filed for that. We have received the exemption, so we are a 501c3 organization. The fifth thing that we had to do, and this was like jumping through hoops, we had to do all of these things to come to this fifth thing, which was to file for and receive recognition from the Texas Governor's Office and to be certified by the Texas Crime Stoppers. We are certified by the Texas Crime Stoppers as a crime stopper here in Karnes County. Part of that process was also to receive training. Cheryl Brown, the TIPS coordinator, has received training. Myself have received training, Patty Bishop, and then our advisor, Lisa Ramos. The sixth thing was to establish two bank accounts. One is a general account. The information that we presented to you shows something about those accounts. The first account that we have is an operations account. That's an administration cost. And the second is restricted account, which is only for the rewards. So we have two accounts, one operational, one that's only for the rewards. So we're here today before you as the judge and the commissioners to ask for the probation court fees that have been set aside for the Crime Stoppers. We're asking that 80% of that amount will go into our restricted fund for the tips, for the rewards for the tipsters, and 20% of that amount will go into the operations account for our administration costs. Once again, in the papers, you have the first line on that chart, talks about the restricted fund, the restricted account, what it's for. It's only for tips for those that are tips that come in that are for the arrest and for the conviction. And then the second thing was that operations account. We're also asking that a monthly deposit be made using that 80-20 split. And we'll be open to any questions that you might have for us if we can answer them. If not, I will get the answers for you.
You just want your funds passed through this? That's all you want?
Trey, do you think eventually this will spin off into the campuses, into the schools?
That's another process that follows that. You have to have all this up and running before you can get into the campus. So it's something that we thought out. Yes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the request for the Crime Stopper funds as stated in this presentation.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries 5. Thanks, Pastor Bill. Thank you,
Thank you very
Ms.
much.
Number 11 is to approve bonds for the following elected officials: Dwayne Villanueva, Herb Hancock, Dennis Benner, Don Lons, Fernando Martinez, Fernando Rios, David Sotelo, and Tony Anderson.
This is just their bonds for the newly elected and re-elected officials that need to be approved in open court after the date the bond is effective. They just need to be approved and then signed and dated by the judge. There's two that were left off, both of the commissioners who are Commissioner Dubnik and Commissioner Rosales, you left off of the agenda, so we'll have to do that next time.
No, I intentionally left them off because I had talked to Ross about this, but under section 81.002 of the local government code, the bond of the county commissioner must be approved by the county judge, not commissioner's court. Also note that under this section, the oath of the office and the bond for a county commissioner requires additional language. And Ross and I have looked at that, and that's why they were intentionally left off. Is that correct, Ross?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the bond for the following elected officials: Dwayne Villanueva, Herb Hancock, Dennis Benner, Mohammed, Fernando Martinez, Fernando Rios, David Sotelo, Brenda Youngson.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? None, motion carries 5-0. Number 12 is to acknowledge the purchase of additional shelving for the county clerk's office in the amount of $6,147.37. The amount is in the budget. Ms. Carroll.
I just wanted it to be acknowledged that it's more than $1,000 and we're supposed to pass that through court. It's just additional shelving for more books and some shorter shelving to go behind the counter. Some of the vital statistics books need to be behind the counter now. They're no longer open to just plain copies. They have to be certified copies. And so in order to facilitate that, we're going to keep them behind the counter.
We've already passed, the money's in the budget, right?
Correct.
I'll make a motion.
And we don't need a motion, shall we?
It's acknowledgement.
Number 13 is to discuss, approve, disapprove, setting a work day to set up an auction to remove the remaining items that will not be sold.
Just kind of want to help, get some volunteers to help Monday next week. And I think Jeff has gotten an auctioneer to help with the auction on Friday. Some of the stuff needs to be set up like in lots, and I don't know how to do that. And some of the furniture and stuff is heavy, and I just need some set a date to commissioners and the other elected officials to come help clean up a little bit and set everything that needs to be done. Like the couches that we're selling need to be dusted off. Everything's down on the first floor. We just need to move it around in lots so we can move the auction along quickly. And I just can't do that by myself.
When is the auction on?
Next Saturday, the 9th, thank you. Like that. The 9th. Friday will be preview day. So either Wednesday or Thursday of next week would be a good day.
Again, where are you gonna have this stuff?
In the courthouse, except for, we're gonna keep everything that's in the courthouse now in there. The stuff that's in the trailer at the precinct yard needs to come over. So Jeff will have to get his guys to bring that stuff over. And he'll bring his equipment, I'm assuming Thursday, late Thursday or early Friday morning. I'm not sure when he's gonna do all that stuff over there. Which I know it's kind of inconvenience parking on Friday, because I have to put some of the stuff in the parking lot. But I'm not sure how else we can do it. And I'm sure what all he has else, dump trucks and things like that.
And whatever they bring from over there, we can just leave it on the trailer.
Yeah, it's in that semi.
Right. Whatever we get off of that.
Okay. We can sell that as a lot.
Trailer and all?
No, he wants the trailer. He wants the trailer. Because I asked that. Yeah, he wants the trailer.
So all this stuff, but leave the whole other road.
All the DOTs ain't around.
So is Thursday good for everybody?
Are we having court
I
Thursday?
won't be here. So I can't go Thursday, Wednesday,
The
Thursday.
second about right back.
Uh-huh. No, the 7th. A week from today. A week from today. We'll have a preview on Friday. So everything needs to be done either Wednesday or Thursday. Or Monday or Tuesday, it doesn't really make any difference.
Do y'all want to set Thursday? I don't know if I have a court. I'd have to look at my calendar.
Lauren, what day is the Eagle for?
Wednesday,
Oh,
Thursday.
that's right.
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Okay, let's do it Monday then. It doesn't matter.
We can do that, we can have our court here.
After you open?
After court on Monday then?
Yes.
That'd be best if we did.
Yes. And any other elected officials that can come help wear your blue jeans, and we'll kind of move stuff around. And Jeff's gonna get Jeff to come help, because I don't know how to set lots up. You know, where we sell things, you know, tables, chairs, that kind of stuff.
Monday the 4th, okay.
Okay?
Monday.
All right.
And make a motion? Or no?
I'll make the motion.
From Monday to fourth?
And you have an auctioneer, right?
All in favor, say aye.
With the auctioneer, will that come out of the auction money that we get to pay for the auctioneer?
It'll have to come out.
She has to pay bills.
That'll have to be approved through
Oh, you
court.
know what,
So
we're
that
about
needs
to
to be on
skip
Monday's
this.
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so Barbara, sorry. Jeff, the auctioneer that he has is gonna cost $750. And we were discussing it with Luana, it needs to be approved in front of Commissioner's Court to take that money out of the auction funds. So can we put that on the agenda for Monday also?
$750 for auction funds? Is that what it is?
Auctioneer,
For the auctioneer.
Auctioneer.
But it needs to come out of the funds,
the sale
the
proceeds.
sale proceeds. Yes, yes. We're just talking about
Auction numbers and all that.
Monday, having, after we do all the opening Monday, come in and set everything up. Okay.
There's only one exit that
Anything else?
Anything else paid out auction?
Mention it.
I don't know. The ads maybe, Luana, will the ads come out of the auction funds too?
Yes.
Do we need to approve that too, or no, because we've already approved to?
We've already approved to
Advertise.
advertise, but then once we have the sale and know the proceeds that we've received, if they plan to be spent for anything else, we'll have to set a special budget.
Okay.
I have a question. I know
Go
I
ahead,
shouldn't
Wes.
speak up, but they're going to enter the courthouse from Santa Maria,
The regular entrance.
Yes.
and the other entrance is blocked off where you can't get out. Isn't it a state law you need 2 exits?
There is another exit
There is another exit.
facing the jail.
Yes,
Okay.
there's a back door.
This side?
Yeah, there's a
That's
big
all I
door that,
wanted to know.
yes, a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know it exists, but there's one back
Yeah.
there.
Yes. And really, it's not blocked. The doors will open on that other end. The pretty new doors, they will open.
But you'll fall off.
Well, you just step down. We can put steps down if we have to.
Wes. All right, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Number 7 is the presentation on pending legislative issues potentially impacting Karnes County and discussion of issues by the University of Texas School of Law legislative lady Boyd and Clinton.
Judge, Commissioners, those of you that were on the court last year will recall that our law firm partners with the University of Texas School of Law as their legislative lawyering clinic each semester, and we get 2 law students assigned to our firm, and then we try to help one of our clients, use their services to help one of our clients. And last year, or last semester, you heard in November, you heard from 2 of the students who sort of brainstormed these ideas to try to improve your tax payment guidelines in light of the growth that you're dealing with. As we left Karnes County in late November, one of the trucks flew up and cracked the student's windshield, and so he's still fighting with UT about who's going to pay for his windshield. So they know that they're taking their lives in their own hands when they come out here. So this semester, we have Veronica Chittister and John Micah Heineman, right? All right, make sure I'm saying the last names right. We have a little more restriction on how we can use the students this time because the legislature's in session and their professor wants them down there monitoring things at the legislature. And so what we've done, and I understand that y'all have legislative advocates that you've retained, but they're tracking bills that will affect Karnes County, and they've got a presentation today for you, and I'm going to hand these out to everybody. And this is sort of a summary of legislative issues that are out there that can have an impact on Karnes County, so that you have this, and then they'll walk you through. They've been going to the Capitol, going to hearings, talking to legislators about issues that will affect y'all. So I'm going to turn it over to John Micah and to Veronica. Oh, you need one of those? Okay. You want this? Sure.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. My name is Veronica. John, we're here. We have a little bitty presentation here, just a few pages of some main bills to bring your attention to, and then a longer attachment of all the bills that we've been looking at for the county. So, the first thing that you're going to be getting from Ross there is more easy to digest, and we just highlighted some bills in bold there that we think could have the potential of affecting Karnes County, and that we plan to keep watching throughout the session.
And so far as I know, so a couple days ago, I went to a hearing. It was 2 state senators, 2 state House representatives, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and they were talking. It sounds, from what I heard from them and talking to them afterwards, it sounds like road improvement is something that's on their horizon, something that they are interested on moving on this session. because they recognize that fracking is putting a lot of stress on transportation, and getting some money out to the counties to help them with their maintenance. So it looks like something will be moving, and we've kind of highlighted what we think has the best chance of moving forward on that.
The main problem that we're seeing right now is that although there's vehicles for funding, we're not seeing where that funding is going to come from, and that's where a big battle is happening. If it's going to come from the rainy day fund, or if it's going to come from oil and gas taxes, it's yet to be decided. And so some of the bills that we have listed there under energy and funding for road improvements list out those different techniques and different ways that people are brainstorming how to deal with this. One being establishing a transportation infrastructure grant program where the counties would have to actually submit to the program to get funding. And the others that we list there are more closely tied to actual oil and gas taxes and looking at the percentage of taxes and where they're coming from. It's unclear to us at this point what they're going to decide on, but we're going to definitely keep right ear to the ground. Do y'all have any questions for us?
What about, have you, trying to remember who's at the transportation committee, but he's putting forth a bill where he's trying to get some steam behind it, where some of the money that, I guess, fees, license fees or something collected, 20% goes to DPS and the rest goes to the DOT, transportation group. But he's trying to get that where the DPS won't get no more of that money, where most more of that goes back to help take care of the roads. Is there anything going with that?
Yes, I think last session, some counties were successful with that, and in my search for county-related legislation, I didn't see one as of right now, but that's not to say that they couldn't tack that on to another bill, or it's just still in the works. So we're definitely going to look out for that.
As far as the percentage going to road improvement, there's actually a constitutional amendment that I talked to the head of the Regulated Industries Committee, said there's actually a shot it might pass, where it's a calculation of how much net income comes in, and in areas with smaller counties with high shale production, sending a percentage to them for infrastructure improvement. So there are a couple of things along those lines that look like they might be going through.
The other bulk of the legislation that you have listed here on taxation and bond elections, there are a lot of bills coming in that are basically saying what language you should put on your propositions for bonds. Some of them are more detailed than others, but mostly just saying what the effect of an increase in bond would be on the voters. And all of them want information on how an increase in taxes would affect voters, not only how much total taxes, but also per capita. So that we have, I guess, at least 8 bills filed to that effect that we'll be watching. Also this morning, I know that y'all took up an item about bonds, and one of the bills in the works right now is to allow counties the option to self-insure instead of procuring bonds. So that's another thing that we'll be watching out for.
Are you guys going to the transportation committee hearings? Is that what y'all are doing?
As much as we can, yes.
I was told yesterday at ACOG there have already been 1,500 bills filed, and they expect to be 5,000, and they have only 2 months to go through those.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Normally how it works.
That's the fun.
And y'all are watching all of them.
Of course, of course.
Is there any chance this bill that, again, I don't remember, but supposedly the counties would have to put their financial disclosures on the website?
Yes, there's a lot of bills requiring financial disclosures on websites, and it's not clear. In each bill, it's different who would manage the website, but every bill wants some sort of financial disclosure on the websites. And so I have those listed as well under administration, and we'll keep our eye on those as well.
You guys have any questions for me? Well, thank you very much.
Thank y'all for having us.
If y'all see any bills that you want to track with you that are of particular interest, and you want us to follow up on, just let me know. Let the judge know, and she'll let me know, and we'll bring you more details or whatever.
Thanks, Rob.
They're yours.
Thanks, it's a pleasure to meet y'all.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you. Drive safe back.
Oh, yes.
The next one's payment of bills.
Most bills are of ordinary expenditures, except for the first three on page 1 that I'll bring to your attention. We have 2 bills to Daly and Spears, which is Lorraine Daly, the architect overseeing the courthouse restoration and hired for the jail. The courthouse restoration phase 1A, which involves the grant loan expenditures of the foundation. For Lorraine's fees, it's $2,707. The second one to Daly and Spear involves the jail project, which is $43,944.15. And then a invoice from Graham Lund for his services to date on phase 1A of the courthouse, $7,837.27. The total expenditures in this bill cycle are $183,027.02.
Okay, I looked at those bills from Daly and Spears and Graham Lund, and the $2,707 phase 1A, that includes getting more money expended out of the phase 1 section to get ready for the phase 1A, and getting some things done at the courthouse, and getting that done with E.J. Boyle. You know, getting some of that, so some of that is to getting ready for phase 1A. And then the jail project, well, and then the architect, well, he is getting the bid ready, getting ready to bid phase 1A. So he has the plans ready to bid within, I think, by the 15th of March. I'm not sure. He said he's going to try to get it done by then. So, and then on the jail project, that's Daly and Spears, and we had a meeting with the sheriff and his administration, and they asked for a redesign of some of that in there to make it more visible for them to monitor problem inmates, suicidal inmates, and so forth. And he said he was very satisfied with what they did on that, getting that changed, and so they're getting close to being ready to bid on that also. So I did look over all those.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but looking at the sheriff's department and the key got the electric bill, why is in the courthouse, in the juvenile included in that?
That's just the description. If you go back to EMS's expenditures, you will see a direct energy business also that has their portion. It's a combination bill that we break down between the applicable departments.
I know it's dryer repair and courthouse maintenance. Is that the jail dryer?
Yes, it is. Screen got torn on the vent, and so therefore the lint was piling up, and therefore it would not heat. And so he had to replace and clean out.
I'll make a motion.
Wait, hold on, I have a question, Tracy. Did Herb approve the county attorney fees for Mrs. Yarder? Did he approve that for you?
Yes, he did.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I made a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Oh, man, hold on, 5-0. And this one is that. I'm sure this will attend with you. The next item on the agenda is to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0.
So I gotta go to the one that's off.